Hi, my name is Chelsea. I'm a 39-year-old former mental health therapist turned intuitive guidance healer. And in 2021, I became a single mother to my 4-year-old daughter, India. I found myself feeling stuck, depressed, and unfulfilled. So I decided to face my fears around being a solo parent and follow my soul's calling to travel alone with my daughter. This call led me to move to Thailand. I hope my videos inspire you to shift out of old patterns that no longer serve and follow your highest joy and make your dreams a reality.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Chelsea and my videos are all about stepping into my power as a single mother and moving to Thailand. And today this is my last week in Koh Phangan and I'm just going to share with you how I've been going in the healing journey that I found here in Thailand. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you like more of this content then please remember to subscribe below. Thank you.
Hey everyone, how are you going? So this is kind of a spontaneous video that I've decided to make, and kind of just to give an update mainly to my friends, just so you can see how I'm going, and to my subscribers who don't know me. This is a good way to get to know me. So I've been in Koh Phangan now for 2 months, and I have to say that I feel like a completely different person to the person that came here 2 months ago. I've had such a healing journey here, really, I guess you could say, stepping into my power, but becoming more in my body and more present and more grounded, which I really needed. I feel like I've been on such a big healing journey over the last 10 years, a huge spiritual awakening, spiritual path that I've been following. And now I realize that the journey all along has to become who I truly am, and to unbecome who I'm not, and to also be present and to be in my body, which I wasn't due to trauma. So I found an amazing somatic practitioner here on the island who I've been seeing. And basically I've been learning how to regulate my nervous system. So I hold a lot of trauma in my body, which has put me in freeze and flight mode for my entire life, especially since a very traumatic event that happened at the age of 3. So I've been on a long journey to heal that. You know, lots of modalities that have kind of, more than anything, almost, I guess you could say, bypassed feeling the emotions from that trauma, and also really processing the trauma and regulating my nervous system. So I really believe that when the nervous system is not regulated, everything, we basically match that dysregulation because it feels comfortable and it feels safe to our body, when in fact it's not. So it's really hard to hold something and to have something that your nervous system hasn't had or held before. And in my case, that's safety. So I have felt that I'm not safe on this planet for my entire life due to trauma. And since coming to Koh Phangan, that is something that I really feel like I've been healing. And the nervous system regulation for me has, what it's done is it's brought up trauma, and then I've learnt ways that I can feel that trauma in a safe place, but also learn how to regulate my nervous system so it can pass through me and I can be regulated instead of being in freeze and flight. So since then I felt like I'm more in my body and I feel really grounded, and I also feel like I'm able to handle being triggered by India. You know, children are our biggest teachers, our biggest healers, and a lot of the time we're triggered. Our childhood wounds are triggered by our children, and our children will also behave in a way and bring up parts of ourselves that were repressed. So for me, my daughter is very expressive and social and loud and talks a lot, and she you know, is very emotional. Like, she cries and she really expresses herself. And this is a part of me that was really repressed as a child. I was very quiet and withdrawn, you know, told that I was a good little girl, which actually was because I had a lot of trauma that I was repressing. Children shouldn't be really quiet. They shouldn't be really good little girls. Children should be fully expressive, and I'm not saying they all have to be loud because they've got different personalities, but you know, if your child is really quiet and really a good little girl and follows all instructions and stuff like that, then there's actually something wrong, because I feel like I was a pleaser, and that's how I felt like I received love, because that's what I was praised for being a good little girl. So India is like the opposite, and it can be quite triggering for me. So by learning how to regulate my nervous system, I feel like I'm able to regulate myself when I'm triggered with India. And so if she's like crying and crying, when she cries, it doesn't trigger me, because if anything, I hold her and I feel like I'm holding my inner child who wasn't held in that way. But if the crying goes on and on and on, it does really trigger me. And so I feel like I'm now able to make myself present, so I'm not in a past unregulated traumatic response in my body. And this is like a real game changer for me, and this is actually, I feel like my whole purpose and path has now shifted since learning how to regulate my nervous system and kind of getting to know myself and who I am. So I thought that my purpose here, like I've got a psychology degree and worked in mental health for 7 years and always wanted to help people. But my wanting to help people comes from being a people pleaser and a caretaker role, because that's, again, what I was praised for as a child. That's how I felt that I received love, was to help others and give myself to others. And so now I've actually shifted my whole perspective, and instead of wanting to do my intuitive guidance, healing and stuff, and I'm not saying that I'm never going to do it, and I don't want to be of service on this planet, because I do still love helping people, but I feel that it was coming from a place of only receiving love if I help people. So now that I've shifted, now that I believe that I'm lovable without needing to do that, I really feel like one of my biggest missions on this planet is to be a really present and good conscious mother to India, so she can really grow into her full potential. And also, I guess, to heal my own mother wound, so I'm not passing that on to my daughter, and also making sure that I'm not using my daughter as a way to feel loved and receive the love that I didn't feel that I had as a child. And I think that's really important to be conscious of, that your children aren't replacing anything from you. Like, I'm just here to be a guide to her and to love her unconditionally. And so by feeling this way, I feel like, like the biggest gifts on the planet really for me is to be a mother, and to be able to hold, nurture, acknowledge, see my daughter, because these are all things that I guess all of us can say that we didn't feel as a child in some form or another. Like, everybody carries a mother wound, everybody has trauma. And I say that because it's like a collective, you know, the patriarchy definitely influenced and put trauma on women. And so all of our mothers carry this generational trauma. And I also feel that we've always kind of, I guess, dismissed our own trauma, because, but my mother had trauma, her parents were like awful to her, so she did the best that she could. And then it almost bypasses our own pain of what we experienced. So I feel like where I'm at the moment is acknowledging that I didn't feel seen, heard, or acknowledged as a child because of my parents' trauma, but also acknowledging and feeling that, and not just bypassing it and going, but they did their best they could. They did, and this isn't to blame them, but it's just to acknowledge my own feelings, because for me, I've always repressed them and held them in my body, and as a result, I've held on to weight, and I've not been much of a crier. in my life and just not felt that I can express myself. So I feel like it's really important for me to acknowledge my feelings and my pain and my trauma so they can be processed. I can regulate my nervous system, they can move through me. So I'm not holding on to them and I'm not replicating them in my life. I feel like my relationship with India's dad was really a big mirror to how I felt as a child growing up. And that was mirrored to me in my relationship with her dad. And, you know, I feel like I broke that programming and patterning by leaving, and now I'm learning how to not recreate that in my life, not to meet that same experience again in the next relationship that I have. And also learning to regulate my nervous system means that I can hold a relationship and hold love and support, and, you know, feeling provided for and supported and safe, which I haven't ever felt in my life. So yeah, it's been huge. I feel like doing somatic work is really, for me, has been just a real life changer, in the sense of I've done so much work on myself, you know, like so much healing, but I've never ever gotten to, like, never been healed, I guess you could say, because my nervous system has never been regulated, and all the work that I've done has just brought up my trauma, but then the trauma's been there with no way of letting it move through me and not keep recreating it, if that makes sense. Sorry, it's hard to articulate exactly the process, but yeah, I'm just feeling really grounded, more in my body. I feel like I also did some huge work, inner child work, with a friend here who has become a friend, and she's an amazing healer. She does work with healing birth trauma, and I did work with her on my trauma that I experienced at age 3, and it was, I guess, the most incredible thing that I found was I went to my inner child before the trauma, and I, you know, visualized her and felt her energy, and she was like very sweet and innocent. And then I went to her after the trauma, and what I felt was that her soul had been fragmented, like she jumped out of her body because the trauma was too much for her to cope. So I had jumped out of my body, and since then I haven't really been in my body. I haven't felt really connected to myself. And then this has played out in all of my relationships with people, like not having a big distrust towards men and feeling that all men are not safe. And this is what I worked on with her. She does EFT tapping. And also I did all this work with my inner child to bring her back into the whole, and to feel safe and in my body again. And I did some ancestral work as well, and yeah, working with my parents as well to have them hold, comfort and acknowledge me at this time, because obviously that wasn't done because they didn't know what happened. And there's been, yeah, stuff, you know, that when I told my parents, one of them didn't acknowledge it and said that it didn't happen, and just a lot of trauma there of not being acknowledged and not being seen, and having it like brushed off because it's too taboo, too hard to deal with. So that's caused a lot of trauma in my body and psyche. So yeah, just healing that, and visualizing, especially my dad as being the masculine, the protector, holding me and acknowledging me as a 3-year-old, and keeping me safe and standing up to that perpetrator, and you know, like making sure that they can't hurt me again. So that was really healing for me. It was really healing to heal my inner masculine as well, because when I visualize, you know, we have an inner masculine and feminine within us, and when I visualized my inner masculine, he was like this emasculated, pathetic, like kicked to the ground, wounded man that I was like, is disgusting, you know. And that's what I'd done to my inner masculine, was rejected it because of the trauma. And so in healing myself, I've brought him up into his power to face my feminine, both in their power to mold together and to be in union. And I feel like that's been super healing for me, because I've also attracted wounded, emasculated men, and also been part of emasculating them, like not trusting men, thinking that they're, you know, not good beings. So I've done a lot of work on that, and I'm feeling really, just really good, like just really empowered. Like I've taken my power back, and in a lot of the healing work I've done, I've really given my power away, given it away, that someone else is going to fix it for me, you know, like, oh, this healer can take it away from me and I don't have to face it. And even things like, you know, Reiki and kinesiology and stuff like that, I'm not saying they're not helpful, but it's kind of, to me, it's been a bypass. Like, oh, you know, the healer says, oh, you've got this program running X, Y, and Z. Oh, just lift up your arm, or look to the right, or say this phrase, and it's gone. But that, I mean, it doesn't go that way. We have to feel to heal. And I really, like, maybe on a minuscule energetic level, it can appear that it's gone, but for me, it didn't heal anything. I'm not saying that it wasn't helpful, because it was helpful for where I was at the time, but it, you know, on a 10-year journey of healing, I definitely was looping and on the endless, you know, wheel of feeling that there was something wrong with me. And that's because my nervous system was so dysregulated. And so by learning these tools, I feel like I can really regulate myself now, and it's something that I can practice. And I've also learned how to be present, which I didn't even know how to do. So because I left, you know, a part of me left my body at age 3, and I was very disassociated. So I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood, because a lot of the time my mind was in a daydream, and I was very disassociated from the present, because the present didn't feel safe to me because of what happened. So I've really learned how to be present, which is amazing, because it's crazy, because I didn't actually even know how to be present. I had to learn how to be present. And I know, you know, it's hard for everyone to be present because there's so much overstimulation and stuff going on, but I didn't actually even know how to do it. So yeah, I feel like everything has shifted for me, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of my journey in Thailand goes. I'm really, really excited to go to Koh Samui, and I feel like it's going to be a holiday for me. So here's kind of been, you know, we came here and rented an apartment straight away, and India went straight into school. But now India and I are just going to spend time together. She's not going to go to school probably for the rest of our journey. If anything, you know, I'll do join more of a homeschool, unschool type scenario, because I'm not really into the mainstream school system for various reasons, which I'm not going to go into in this video. But I also really believe that she needs to be with me and connect to me. To be with me and connect to me, you know, she has trauma herself of not being with her father anymore, which is a big trauma for her, a real big abandonment wound. And I feel like it's important for her to feel really safe and connected to me. And now that I'm more in my body and connected to myself, I feel like I have the energy to give this to her. Whereas there was a big part of me that it was very overwhelming to feel that I could give her that. So I feel like there's been a lot of healing for me, that I can now be a better mother to India, and I feel like it's more of my purpose now to be a good mother. So I mean, imagine if we could all heal our mother wound and father wound and be really present parents, so the new generations would not carry that wounding, and they would be in their power and feel and come here and be able to do what they came here to do without carrying all of our trauma and our ancestors' trauma. The world would be a very different place, and I really believe that it can be. So I feel like it's really up to me to give her everything that she needs to be the person that she is, and yeah, just create a new world by being a conscious parent. So yeah, that's a little update. If you don't resonate with anything I'm saying, or it triggers or anything like that, then just disregard it. But this is just my journey and I'm just sharing it, and I hope that some of that sparked a little bit of aha for you, that you might relate a little bit. And I will see you in Koh Samui.